So I'm going to be talking about the relationship between Aiz and Belle and why this race has already been won before we've really only gotten started. So of course, if you do not want spoiler content, I will be covering some spoiler stuff when it comes to DanMachi. So if you do not want that, I suggest clicking off the video, as I will be covering stuff ahead of the anime. And of course, if you do like this kind of content, consider hitting the like, subscribing, and of course, tell me down in the comment section down below, who is your favorite girl out of the cast of characters in the DanMachi story? Because I think it is a bit of a wide cast, and to kind of get into that, there is a big difference between the anime and the light novel, between people's perspectives, and I can understand why, and that goes into this very topic as well, because some of the comments I have seen is people being shocked that Aiz is going to win. I've talked about it a couple of times where I've said, you know, Aiz is going to win at the end of the day, Belle is going to end up being with Aiz, and people are just kind of like shocked. And though the anime has been pretty upfront about who's going to win, the light novels has been even more upfront about it. And I think it's due to the studio that's worked on the anime and how they've portrayed not just Aiz but also Hestia, because Hestia is kind of seen as more the poster child, or the sort of the main front center stage of selling the anime. And I can understand why, because Hestia does have some assets that can definitely appeal to a younger male demographic that will bring in more eyes and ears into the anime, and then they may consider reading the light novels, and then they'll get the full depth and story of why Aiz is a little bit more different. And that's also one of the issues, is that the anime does kind of give Aiz the rough treatment. And this is why I can understand why some anime fans don't like Aiz as much and really have this feeling that Hestia should win. I can understand it, I just don't agree with it. I know some people get very concerned about light novel purists. I'm not one of those. I've always been one of those that gets yelled at by light novel purists, and because they claim I'm an anime only, but I've read the light novels for DanMachi, and as much as I do believe Hestia is going to win, it's inevitable, and I think that's the best result, being how the story has been established, and a lot of the underlining hints and foreshadowing going on. I can understand why some anime fans are a little bit disgruntled. Though I'm not as sympathetic towards light novel fans saying that they're shocked that Aiz is going to win, when the light novels has been very upfront about who's going to win, like from the very beginning. And even then, the anime has been pretty upfront about who's going to win as well, but it's a little bit more different situation. The thing is, though, to also note is that the light novels has an entire side story for Aiz, and it goes into her backstory, the development that's gone on with her and those around her, and how she is not just a one-dimensional character that the anime sometimes has a tendency to make people think. So that's why I can kind of sometimes understand that perspective. It's just I don't always agree with it. There is, though, the annoyance that some people have where they understand that Aiz is going to win, but they don't like the fact that the anime keeps adding new girls to the cast of the harem that Belle is going to end up rejecting. And this is the big spoiler, that Belle has already started rejecting one of the girls, and that is Sia, which is also known as Freya. Freya and Sia are the same person. Now, if you want to know the full details of that, go into my light novel explain videos. I go into detail about the whole backstory and where all that goes. But the general gist of it is that Belle has rejected Sia, which is technically rejecting Freya as well, but he doesn't really work that out until afterwards. And so this is something that I think some fans are now starting to realize, that Belle is now going through that process of rejecting some of the girls' advancements, because he is in love with Aiz, and Aiz clearly has some interest in Belle. It's not one-to-one as far as feelings go, but you can definitely see that Aiz has genuine interest in Belle. It's just not a full-on crush or anything really that insane. Yeah, I mean, you could argue maybe it's a crush, but it's not love. Not like Belle. Belle's head over heels. He's like a little puppy dog. He is very much wagging his tail, chasing her. And he's got a lot of respect for her as well as a warrior, so he's trying to stand on an equal footing with her. That will end up, I believe, ending with some epic quest, so to say, where they work together along with others around them, working together to overcome a major hurdle, and that's where their relationship will slowly come together, and Belle will end up being Riv Eyes. Now, that's not to say that I don't believe it is impossible for a harem ending. Now, a harem is where 3 or more girls are in love with the main protagonist, which has been Belle. Belle does not have to reciprocate those feelings. It can be one-sided. So I just want to note that, because I had some people getting angry at me saying DanMachi is not a harem series. DanMachi is a harem series. But by harem ending, most people just say harem ending in the sense of Belle reciprocating those feelings. But technically, you could still have a harem ending and Belle not actually reciprocate those feelings, because all it needs to be is that 3 or more girls need to be in love with the main protagonist or a main character, and it can be one-sided. That's what a harem is. It does not need to be a two-way street. So Belle can still technically be with Eyes and have other girls still in love with him, and it still be a harem, but most people, when they say harem ending, they mean that he'll actually pick more than one girl to end up being Riv. That could still happen. I think it's very unlikely, but it's still on the table. I think most light novel fans, including myself, would be more annoyed if Belle didn't end up being with Eyes, being that the entire light novel series has been building up their relationship. And yes, they've had their ups and downs where they've had disagreements, but that kind of adds into the sort of the speed bumps and the highs and the lows as far as their relationship goes. So that's understandable. It's a conflict of interest, but you've always got to understand Eyes' point of view from the light novel perspective of that she has a deep history with the dungeon, her family, and some of the monsters and all that kind of stuff. Well, Belle, he doesn't have that, so he's a lot more sympathetic to the Xenos, being that he doesn't have that deep history with the monsters of the dungeon. And he also knows more about the Xenos than what Eyes does, so there's that relationship. And this is something that I've said in previous videos. Belle is the hero that the people need, not what the people want. I know it's a Batman quote, but it fits very well to Belle himself, because you look at Hermes. Hermes is trying to make Belle into what the hero that what people want, and that the people cheer on, but Belle wants to be what they need, doing what is necessary to protect those no matter what. Man, woman, child, or even monster, innocent monster. Again, if it's a brainless monster, he'll kill them, but if it's a Xeno, then he wants to protect them. And so Belle does things that go against what others may want, which I think adds to some interesting story development. But I can understand why some fans are a little bit agitated that the story has built up all these other girls to just be rejected. But that is the nature of a harem series, might I add. That reminds me of another harem series called Nausicaa, where you knew who was going to win, but they kept introducing other new characters, and you were just kind of annoyed because you're like, okay, why introduce these other characters when we know who's going to win? Just kind of build up that story, that development, that romance, rather than trying to throw in other girls. But it's there because that is the nature of harems, and it's also just kind of a speed bump to keep things going while other stories are developing. So I can understand the annoyance, but at the same time, to counter that, that is just the nature of a harem series. But to me, the best analogy I can give is that it's like a race. I started the race 30 minutes early, and all the other girls are 30 minutes behind on the race. So unless Eyes decides to grab her sword and shove it in her foot and completely paralyze herself from winning the race was won 30 minutes ago when it started, in that sense of an analogy. So from the very first volume, we know who was going to win. So I don't understand why people are shocked from that standpoint, but I can understand some of the annoyance. I'm trying to be sympathetic, but at the same time, there is those points where you're kind of like, it's obvious who's going to win. Now, it's clear Eyes will win. Whether it ends up being a harem ending or not, I still think is unlikely, but it's still on the table nonetheless. So I feel like the real question is how will the story develop? When will Eyes learn and actually realize that she does have feelings for Belle? Because we know she likes Belle to a degree. How much, I think it's more of a crush. But when she realizes, oh, I am interested in Belle in that sense, and then actually start to pursue that interest. When will that happen, and how will that happen? That is the true question to be asked, and that will be saved for another video. So again, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Who is your favorite girl? Why are they your favorite? throw a tier list per se, and if you do have other male characters that you do like that you want to throw in on there as well, definitely throw down below. I'm a big fan of Welf. I really love Welf and his relationship with his other goddess, not Hestia, because technically he is with Hestia as a goddess, as the familiar member, but he's technically very much more interested in another goddess that he is trying to impress. So I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below, but if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more anime content, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.